still not working. There it goes.
Okay.
Congratulations on the win, Greg.
Thank you.
You talked a lot last week about this might be a project trying to get this thing together, and you know, you were going to have to go slow and a little bit of patience. Is this kind of that first step on that road, getting a win, ending the losing streak, and starting to build something?
Yeah, I think, look, the process has been underway. You know, what I think over the last few weeks since we've come back from the international break is that, as I've said to you, we've been a little bit light in the midfield in terms of our personnel. Marky's gone through 2 issues. Ryan has gone through a physical issue. Sasha was coming back from injury. Vic was, and I just felt like we had a hard time winning midfield. And if you can't win midfield, you're vulnerable. And then we topped it off with a couple mistakes. And tonight, you see why those guys are so important, just the amount of ground that they covered, the amount of just dirty work. It helps, and especially when you play against a team that really overloads the middle of the field as they do. In the first half, they were in a 3-4-3, and we were trying to deal with their 4 midfielders. In the second half, they changed into a diamond, and it was just, there's just so many players in the middle of the field for them that our midfielders just have to do so much work. And today we were able to do it because those guys were back and healthy and in solid fitness, and so we were able to deal with that. It also helps us in terms of how we want to play and switching the ball and swinging it from one side to the next and trying to be in possession. So it was a team effort today, but for sure as our midfielders are now healthier and Gaston getting into the mix, which was fantastic. He's a wonderful player, really suits what we're trying to do, and I feel like we're more stable in the moment, and we build off of that. You know, today was a hard-fought win. Since you didn't ask, I thought we had a penalty. I thought it was a penalty, and that probably would have been that player's second yellow, which would have maybe made the game a little bit different. But at the end of the day, the guys, I have to give credit to the guys for their competition, you know, the way they competed all the way till the final whistle, because they had to deal with some pressure there at the end. 100%. Yeah, that's the important part. The most important part isn't that stuff. The most important part for this group is that's a win, which breaks, you know, the emotional moments that were going on with the previous games, and it allows us to build off of this week. Again, when everybody sees each other in the locker room, that's a real positive thing because they know we have quality in our locker room. We just need to have all of our pieces out there ready to go, and the guys who came on can also give us something. So our bench is starting to look even deeper. The guys that come on can really give something to the game as well.
I've actually got 2 questions for you, Greg. First off, game a little more wide open than you would have liked, and part of that also was you guys had a number of giveaways out of clearances.
Yeah, definitely in the second half. I mean, 2 things that happened that really opened up the game in the second half and a little bit in the first half is we were, again, it just comes to numbers in the midfield. If you don't get pressure to the ball and you get a little bit separated from each other and there's spaces between the lines, they do a really good job of putting players into those spaces between the lines, and they were able to find those guys, which then kind of separates your front group from your back group a little bit, and that happened a few times throughout the game. And definitely in the second half when they changed shapes, it took us a little while to get our block back together a little bit to really clog up the middle of the field and deal with things a little bit differently. So that led to the game being stretched out a bit in terms of we were able to play through them at times or behind them, and they were able to play through us, and then it becomes a little bit end-to-end, which is a lot of work for both teams.
Gaston's only been with you for a few days, so everyone's kind of getting used to how to play together and all that. I'm just wondering your thoughts on how you want it to look, and I'm wondering Marky's role and how that may change, because we're seeing Gaston getting a lot of the balls that Marky would have gotten before, and then in terms of playing with the 3 that you used today, where there's not a real playmaker in there, and your thoughts on on having a real number 10 versus having a different type of setup.
Yeah, I think we have options. You know, we can bring in an Efra or Victor, and then we can have a real number 10. We can use a playmaker off the wings, which a lot of teams do. Nowadays, you can get a hard-working midfield who really work to win the midfield, recover balls, keep the ball moving efficiently, and you can get your playmaker coming from the outside, which is very difficult for teams to pick up that player when he comes in and overload. So there's different ways for us to still have that piece on the field. So sometimes it will, once we start to really settle in and get going, but also this week when playing a 3-4-3, which is a little bit of a different system that we played against, it was making sure that we really wanted to try to clog up the middle of the field. This is a team that has a lot of good players in the middle of the field, and we wanted to make their life a little more difficult.
And how about in terms of Marky and Gaston and the way that their roles are?
Yeah, that'll settle. Today we played them next to each other. Sometimes we'll play one as more of a pivot and one higher, and look more like a traditional 4-3-3. We'll do a couple of different things, but I want to feel them out together, and Gaston's still getting his full match fitness under him, so I didn't necessarily want him to do one thing all day. So they balanced each other out today, and that was how we used them.
Greg, whenever you look at Douglas Costa, Kevin Cabral, and Chicharito all starting for the first time since May 18th, I believe,
Yeah.
what'd you get out of the three DPs, and specifically with Cabral gets a goal, his first of the season, and then maybe missed another one that he should have had. It seems like a lot of maybe rinse and repeat with him.
Yeah, but the one thing you can't take away is the sheer amount of running and work that he does. I mean, we missed the chances right now. He's a player who's growing in front of the goal, and he has to continue to improve. But the volume of running and high-speed running, there isn't anyone else who does that. I mean, he's one of the top guys in the league when it comes to that, and you need that. It opens up spaces for other people. We probably get 6 chances to, if he's not on the field, maybe 2, and so some of them you live with, unfortunately, that's a part of the progress that it doesn't complete, but there's a lot of chances that come from just the sheer, again, volume of selfless running that he's willing to make. Also the tracking back, the picking up balls, and the back press, things like that. So there's a lot of work that goes in for Kevin that is kind of unsung work, but because he's a DP, you don't get credit for that. You get credit for the statistics, and that's something he's just got to build into his game as he continues to grow. But again, the work is huge. Javi was big today. Again, just the way he competes, and I've said this before, his passion and his emotion and the way he competes on the front to recover balls, hold balls, to work, it brings everybody into that frame of mind as well. When you look forward and your forward is fighting like that, then everybody else is on that same page. And so he was enormous in that. And Douglas was obviously good and got some good looks and can do some things. Again, it was a midfield that was pretty compact and pretty tight, and he likes to come across the midfield and sometimes to open himself up, and there just wasn't a ton of space sometimes in that. So we're trying to continue to get him going, but I thought he had some good looks and some good balls and was able to open up the field a few times, getting us from one side to the next. So I was pleased with all of them. It was nice to see the group of them up together and working, and I also thought Ryan, Marky, and Gaston put in a good shift today, just physical work.
You brought Joveljic in, he gets another goal. And you were able to get Grant Sur off the bench, obviously some other subs there, but with that sub progression, you talked about the team getting a little bit deeper. Are those the types of guys that you see as your game changers whenever you can bring those guys in?
Yeah, I think, it's settling into what a rotation might look like now that everybody's healthy and in, and, we'll see. It's competition, too, to keep guys at their truest form, which is important. None of the guys like to come off the bench. They all want to be starting, but at the end of the day, they accept the role for the day and they compete. But they're going to push each other, and we feel like, maybe as another team is getting tired, we can bring on some more guys who can add gas to the fire a little bit and push the tempo and really help us. And obviously, Dejan's been a masterful goal scorer down the stretch, like from 80 minutes to 90 minutes. I think he's got about 6 goals this year in that window of time. So he sticks with it, and obviously he's a phenomenal finisher. But yeah, I feel like with the group we have options now that we come off the bench to bring some experience, to bring some speed, to bring some finishing, to bring some different things to help impact the game in different ways.
One last question on Zoom with Damian Calhoun. Damian, go ahead.
Hey, Greg, can you hear me?
Hey, Damian, yep.
Hey, just want to get your thoughts on the attitude of the group coming into this game. You came in with 14 games remaining. No one's going to say it's a must-win game, but did you get a sense that you guys needed something out of this game with everything, the way things have gone the last couple weeks?
Yeah, I'd certainly say it was a very important game for a lot of reasons. Emotionally, for the group, because it was home again, and we've dropped some home games, which are there. But I think it was a really important game from all those perspectives. We didn't talk about it as such. We talked about it as just a game that we're approaching. We worked all week on the game plan. We didn't talk about anything in the past. We focused on this game plan, roles and responsibilities, and the guys pushing each other and working hard together as a group, and they did that, and they were excellent in fulfilling it. It's hard to get the first one when you've gone through a tough stretch, and the guys obviously got the first one, and hopefully we continue to build off of that.
Thanks for your time, Greg.
All right, thank you.
Yep, thank you. Things are just falling for you?
I mean, yeah, I can say that I have confidence, but that's because team played good, team is playing good. I mean, last 3 games we didn't do so well, but finally we bounced back on the winning streak, and I'm so glad that we won today in front of our amazing fans.
Greg said, or was noting the number of goals that you're scoring, like from the 80th minute on. What is it about that last part of the game that you're so sharp in?
I mean, nothing special. Most of the time I play in the last 15 minutes, so.
Do you still feel like, I think you said afterward on TV, do you still feel like you should be playing a lot more minutes than you're playing, given your production?
I mean, of course, if you ask me, am I happy when I'm on the bench? Of course I'm not. Every player wants to play 19 minutes. I mean, I'm a professional. If I get 5, 10, 90 minutes, my job is to do the best that I can at that moment, so I will continue like that. Thank you.
I think you mentioned it a little bit, but just for this team and for maybe the confidence that you guys need for these next 13 games that are coming up, what did it mean to score first and then be involved in a game where you guys were trying to control that game and get a win?
I mean, in this league I have feeling if you score first, like 75% you're gonna win that match. So it's very important to score first goal. If we received 1 goal, it's very hard to bounce back. So basically, if you score first goal, you have very good chances to win.
Jonathan, congratulations on the shutout. This seemed like a monumental defensive effort there in the second half. Maybe in the first half you guys were a little more in control of things. Second half things started to maybe regress a little bit. But what do you have to say about the defense that was in front of you and also your own play?
Yeah, so happy with everyone. Like you said, I thought we played some really good football in the first half and controlled the game. They came out, and you can feel that straight away after the whistle in the second half. They came out a lot more aggressive, and at that point we have a lead to kind of defend. So I felt like we did that really well. Derek had some amazing big headers, big plays. Julian and Chase stopping crosses, and obviously Eric Joveljic had a great game covering in behind, and then Sega when he came on the last 10 minutes as well, because we didn't have much of the ball and we were defending a lot, especially in stoppage time. And yeah, I felt like everyone kind of played their part. Big shout out to obviously the midfielders, Gaston, Marquis, Ryan as well, covering a lot of ground. When we did have some counter attacks and we tried to attack, we don't finish, or we don't go to the corner, we don't keep the ball, and then we're in transition a little bit, and then the midfielders have to run even more. So it was a big effort from them as well.
What does this win do for you guys mentally, emotionally, and everything else? Obviously, you stopped the slide. Now 13 games left in this season. You got the win. You stay above the playoff line. All those things seem like good things, but how do you go and replicate that for the next game?
It was a big game for us. 3 games in a row. It's really not easy losing at home as well. We know we have a responsibility to kind of perform in front of the fans, and when we don't, it comes on top of us even harder, kind of thing, and that really we have a young group, and it does affect confidence. Maybe being a little bit of a younger group, or maybe a little bit more fragile than we should be, but for us to show a little bit of mental strength and character coming back today and really dominating from the start. We started really well. I think we scored and I hadn't touched the ball yet, so we really did control the game from the off, and it's a massive result, and obviously a clean sheet as well, which takes us to 7, I think 6 or 7 clean sheets, something like that. So it's not bad.
We've seen this team so often fall behind in the first 15, 20 minutes or so to be playing with a lead. What was that like for you when you see, we're ahead?
Yeah.
And just just the way that brought confidence into the game.
It's a relief, especially at home. I feel like we seem to concede the first goal at home, or have done anyway recently. And for us to start the game well, score the first goal, kind of changes the complete dynamic of the game. We have struggled a little bit this season with stopping transitions. So when we concede the first goal, then suddenly our natural reaction is to go score an equaliser, and there's been a couple of times where we've then been punished, bang bang, and then you're 2-0 down, you're at home, and then it is a big mountain to climb. And we just spoke about maybe keeping things a little bit tighter from the beginning, maybe the fullbacks staying connected to the back four rather than pushing on in the first portion of the game, and just letting the midfielders control the game. I thought Gaston had a great game on the ball and gave us a lot of control. So it was like you said, the first goal is massive in any game, really.
Gaston coming in, he's a real number 6 as opposed to 8's kind of playing in that role. This was a different kind of game because of the way Atlanta was dealing with the midfield and the way they were switching things. And you guys have only been playing with Gaston for a few days in training, so you're still kind of working it out. But do you see ways that it's going to be different, or ways that you guys are going to be more solid in midfield with having a guy who's a true number 6?
Yeah, I think for most of the season, Mark has done a great job in there. I think he'd be the first to say, he's naturally been an 8 beforehand, making runs in behind. I think he was telling me he made a lot of runs in behind at Toronto before. So, to have another ball player in there as well. He's obviously not just a 6. He's like a ball playing number 6, which helps us a lot building out. We've had Sasha, Ryan, Danny Aguirre as well in there, but it's good to have another body in there and give us another option, really. And like you say, he's only been training for a few days, but he slotted in really quickly and looked really comfortable, and I have complete trust in him. You can tell very quickly, when I'm passing someone the ball in midfield and they're under pressure, like he can handle it 100%, and it's good that we can have someone we can trust in there.
Thanks for your time, Bondi.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.